Hi, I want to tell you a story. You know a lot about me as Dr. Boston at LCU, but what you might not know is that I was a business major whenever I was first at LCU, and I did a summer internship at a place called Dunder Mifflin Paper Factory in Scranton. I know, it's hard to believe. I was there whenever they were doing this crazy documentary, and now that it's been so long, the NDA that I signed has exceeded the statute of limitations, and so now I can talk about it. And they have some found footage, so I want to share some of the found footage with you. I also want to note that this is about where my interest in chemistry started, so maybe you'll be able to notice a few differences about me and see the twinklings of the love of chemistry in my eyes before I had laser surgery. Hi, we will be doing our training today on Excel. If you remember several months ago, we did an experiment and now we've gathered all the data and we're going to use that data to learn how to use Excel. So let me share my screen with you. Here we go. Okay, so this is just a reminder of our experiment that we had run previously. We reacted 1-bromobutane with sodium iodide in acetone, and that should have been an SN2 reaction. Let's scroll down. The strong nucleophile comes in from the back and kicks off the leaving group. We get this transition state, and then we get this final product. And this is it's insoluble. Sodium bromide is insoluble in acetone, and so the production of that is what we view using the spec to see how much product gets made, and that blocks the amount of light that gets through the sample, and so we measured the percent transmittance over time. Okay, so then what we've done previously is we calculated rate order, but we didn't ever look at graphs. So let's look at how we can make some graphs with these things. I'm not really sure why Michael is so into Excel right now and rate orders. Like, I think that he's just on this chemistry kick, but he said we all need this training anyway, so that's why I'm here to help you out with it. But I'm finding it really interesting, and I think I like Excel a lot, and this chemistry seems to be making sense, so I'm excited to get to share it with you. So if we know that an SN2 reaction is second order because the nucleophile and the substrate are both involved in that rate determining step, that's two molecules, that's second rate order, then we could expect that the graphs of our concentration of our reactants as it changes over time, it'll look like this. So we don't have the concentration of our reactants, but what we have is percent transmittance, how much light gets through the sample. There should be 100% light through the sample before the reaction starts, and then as the reaction starts and product gets produced, our concentration of our reactants goes down. And so as percent transmittance, less light gets through, we know that that correlates with our concentration. So our x-axis is going to be time, but our y-axis is going to be percent transmittance instead of concentration. If that doesn't make sense, just come ask me after you watch this video. So we will make 3 graphs in Excel with our data. The first one is just going to be the simple percent transmittance versus time, and then we're going to take the natural log of that and put it against time, and then 1 over the percent transmittance divided by time. And remember what I just said, we're not doing concentration, we're doing percent transmittance. That's why I was changing it. So whenever you are ready to do this training, you'll come to our shared Moodle page, and you can click here to sign up for one of the rows of data. And you could download that spreadsheet just straight from this link, or this is the master just in case someone messes up with the data or something, so you could download it directly from here. So whenever you open that up, it should look like this, and so you will come and you will sign it up for your row of data. I'm just going to sign up for this top one, and then you should not be doing that one again. So once you've signed up, then you can save it. If you clicked through the link, then it should just automatically update for you. But now you need to take this data and put it into your own spreadsheet. So what you should do is right click down here on where it says master data and move or copy. You're going to create a copy and move it to a new book. So then click OK, and we should have a new book. So you can double check it down here. This was that master one, and now book 2 is the one that I want to work from. So I'm going to X out of the master one and come to book 2. Before you do anything, you should always save your work. So file and save as, and I am going to save it in my own folder. This doesn't matter where you save it. You can just save it wherever you want. I'm going to save it in my lab folder. And this is the format that you need to follow. You need to title your lab as lab 9 dash last name, comma, first name for you. Obviously, don't put mine. You need to put your last name and your first name. Okay, so I had already had one saved from practicing, and so I'm replacing that one. You shouldn't have one saved. Okay, so once you've done that, then I don't really care about everybody else's data, so I'm going to delete all those rows. What I did is, you see how my arrow is like a black arrow pointing to that whole row? I clicked it. I click and don't release and drag down, and that selects all of those at the same time. And then I can right click over here with that black arrow still showing, right click, and I could come down here to delete, or I know that my shortcut, whenever I right click, since that D is underlined, if I just type in the D, it's going to delete everything. I like to be efficient and fast. Okay, so since I copied that into this new workbook, my panes are already frozen. So like whenever I scroll down, the row 1 is still showing. It didn't go away. If I scroll over, columns A through F are still showing. They didn't go away. So that's called freezing your panes. I feel like Michael would make a stupid joke there, but I'm going to not do that. So I just want to show you how to freeze your panes and how to unfreeze your panes. I'm sorry. So what I've done, I know that G2 is where the anchor is, I guess, for these frozen panes, because like that's row 2 gets unfrozen, like it scrolls, and then column G hides under column F as I scroll over. So G2 is where like those two frozen panes meet. So if I want to unfreeze them, I can come to my View tab and then click the down arrow on Freeze Panes and unfreeze them. And now it just scrolls. It doesn't have anything frozen. I don't like that. So I do want to keep them frozen. So now I'm going to show you how you should freeze a pane. So you choose where it's going to start moving. The first cell that won't be frozen, you select that one, and then in the View tab you come to Freeze Panes and then Freeze Panes, and now they're all frozen. Okay, so what I want to do now is have my X and Y axes, and I'm going to keep them over here on the side that's frozen. So X and Y. My X axis was time in seconds, right? And actually maybe I want to put it below. Let's put it below, time in seconds. And my y-axis is %t. I want to go ahead and let's do the %t's first. I don't know why, I just want to. So you could do this several ways. You can take the first one that you want to bring down here so that we can make our graph. You can take this and just copy it. So I've selected that cell, and I'm going to do the shortcut, Control-C, and then come down here, Control-V, pastes it there. But I don't want to just be Control-C and Control-V all the time. And for a better spreadsheet, it's a good idea to equal the cell that you're pulling from. So just in case you realized, oh, it wasn't 60.4, it was 60.8, and you go change it in your source data, it also changes it down here. But if I would have copied and pasted, then it wouldn't have changed it there. Okay, I just undid that. I use a lot of shortcuts, so to undo, it's Control-Z. And if you're using a Mac, the command is what you use instead of Control, the command button. But the shortcuts should all be the same. Control-C is copy, Command-C is copy, and so on. So Control-Z is undo, and I just undid all of that other stuff. So I do want it to equal that though. So I'm going to have it equal the first %T, and then the next one is here. And then K, column M, column O, column Q. What I'm doing is I'm hitting equal, and then I'm selecting it, and then I'm hitting enter. Equal, column U, enter. Equal, the cell I want to have it equal, enter. Equal that cell, enter. Equal that cell, enter. Equal that cell, enter. And then I'm going to scroll over. I had just done the cell that's 5.4, so equal that cell, enter. Equal that cell, enter. Equal that cell, enter. And that's the last one. All right. So then, I think I want them to all be green. I want to have the format of this cell be the same format for all those other cells. So the way that you do that is you select the cell that you like the formatting for, and in the Home tab, you click Format Painter, and then you just select all the cells that you want to format that way. And then I need to bring all of my times down to the X. Okay, so I could come in and do equal that cell, enter, but I think because my %T is to the left of my time in every case, I think if I select these and then I put my cursor like this, do you see that little green dot right there? The green or green square, and you see how my cursor turned into the black cross? That lets you select all this, and it's going to like copy the pattern of the formula the way that you drag it. So if I drag it one to the right, it should pull all of the cells that are one to the right of the formula that I had here. And that's what it did. You see how it went from G to H. And then down here it went from I to J. And then K, L, M, N. O, P, Q, R, and so on. I want these, though, to look like the formula, or the formatting of the %Ts, or the times to those %Ts. So I'm going to select the cell, Format Painter, bring it down. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. The formatting changed. It went from Times New Roman, that's a Times New Roman 12, and this is Calibri 11. Oh, I do not like that. I want it to all be, let's make it all be Calibri 11. Calibri 11. All right. So I've fixed all that, and then I'm going to take these cells that I just automatically filled, and I'm going to cut them. I'm going to do Control X, and then I want them to be pasted in starting here, and so Control V, and that just whoop, moved them over. If I would have done copy, let me show you what would happen if I did copy. So now I'm going to undo. I'm going to do Control Z, and I just did what I just did. So right now I'm going to copy instead of cut. Copy and paste. Do you see how the numbers aren't the same? It's like 6, 6, 35. So like they're offset. It's because whenever you copy something, it copies the pattern of the formula over. It doesn't take that formula that was in there and put it where you want it to go now. So that's why I needed to cut these cells instead of copy them. Okay, so now that we have all of this, we need to look at these numbers before we start charting our data. And what we see here is that there was an error in the formulas whenever I was first inputting all of the data that you didn't have to see. and no number, there was no time associated with this %t, or this one, or this one. And that's because the reaction never got as low as that %t. So the %t's were just a -5 across the board. And then the very last piece of data is the last piece from the video. So you can see the lowest %t we got to was 6.3. So what I'm going to do is select all of those rows that have no time associated with those %t's, and I'm going to delete them. So I come over here and I right click, and then I type the D to delete them. Okay, so now this data is what I want to make my graphs for. So I'm going to select all of this. I'm not going to select the X and Y, that was just for my own benefit. I'm selecting the T seconds and the %t though, because sometimes it will automatically populate your chart titles or X and Y axes labels. So whenever you select all the data that you want to be charted, then you come to, I feel like it was data, but I don't see it. Oh, insert. It's going to be insert and then chart. You want to insert a chart, and the best chart here is going to be an XY scatter. That's the normal chart that chemists use. And I do want it to be a scatter where the lines are connected. Okay, so here's my first, what just happened? So that's kind of nice about the undo. Something looked funky, and so I just did Control-Z because I don't know what had happened. So I am, though, going to bring this chart over. There we go. I selected it. Make sure your arrows are on the cursor has all 4 of those arrows. That's telling you that you can move it. And I just want to drag it over here, maybe make it a little bigger. And this is interesting. So what you can see here is that it was like no reaction was happening, and then boom, everything started happening. So I want to keep that in mind. We're not going to change anything yet, but I think we might change something once we make all of our charts. So we need to format our chart now. So I was wrong in the axis titles. Just selecting all of those did not help with our axis titles. So what we can do, though, we do need to change our chart title. And so this one is going to be our %t versus time in seconds. So I'm kind of copying that website that we saw where it's got the concentration versus time. We're doing %t versus time. And I need to have my axes labeled. So I'm going to come over here and add chart element, axes, axes titles, primary horizontal, and I want primary vertical. And then I'll come in here and I'll type in, that's going to be the %t. And then this is time in seconds. That is not right. Why do I keep on doing this wrong? %t is my x-axis, and time in seconds is my y-axis. And I said those words wrong. Goodness. %t is y, and time is x. You can tell that things are crazy in the office here. I can't even think right. Okay. So what we have here, I think that it's pretty well charted a good way. I think I want to still show you, though, since our %t can be up to 100, let's go ahead and change that to 100. So I double clicked on the numbers over here, and then it came over to format axis, and I did axis options. Axis options. The minimum 0, I want the maximum to be 100 because our %t could be 100. You can also change the major grid lines. So right now it's by 10s, which is fine, and then the minor are by 2s. Let's see what it would look like if I did minor by 1s. Nothing, because I don't even really have those shown. What if I did minor by 5s? Nothing on this one, but that's one thing I want you to see here, though, is it's okay to just play around and see what's going on. On the time, I think that I like it being every 50 seconds. I could change it to 450 if I wanted to. So this is where it might vary based on your data in your, it's not letting me change it, I don't know why. Based on your data from your own row, you might want to change your x-axis to fit the time that you're seeing. But I think everyone's y-axis should be from 0 to 100. Okay, so we've got that. First chart is done. If you have more than one data line in one graph, you can select data and then come in here and change the name of it. So you'd edit and then you can change the name here to be whatever you want. But obviously I don't want it to be that. But whenever you do that and then you come to the design tab and add a chart element, you could add the legend, and then that's where it'll have whatever you've named it. I don't know, let's just leave the legend so you can have some practice in doing that. Okay, so now our next graph, let's look at this. We wanted to do the natural log of our %t versus time. So I want to take those and put them down here again. This one's going to be the natural log of my %t, ln versus time. So the time is going to equal that time. So you could copy and paste, or you could do the equals and just fill it down. And notice, like, I filled it one too far, and so I'm going to just delete. That last one, I want the formatting to stay the same. And so then, for this one, I want it to do the natural log function to the %t that was above. Let's double check. Let's do a Google search. If I, how do I do natural log in Excel? I think it's probably just going to be ln, but I wanted to make sure. I think it's, yeah, it's just looking, yes. You just type in equal ln and then put in parentheses what you're wanting to do the natural log of. So equals ln, open parentheses, come up and select the cell that I want to do it for, and then close parentheses after it and hit enter, and now that's the natural log of the first %t from up here. So then I just want to fill it down so that it follows that same pattern. I fill it down. And those are all the natural logs. I want to keep my formatting just because I like things to look consistent. And then I'm going to make this chart. I am going to go ahead and select those two titles for the X and Y axes, even though I don't need to, because it does put it as part of the chart title. So I do insert, XY scatter, the line one, move it over here. I want it to be just a little bigger. Okay, a little bigger. And this is natural log of the %t versus, did I do a V or a VS? I did a V. Time in seconds. Okay, so then I need to put in my chart titles. I came over here, add chart element, axis title, primary horizontal, axis title, primary vertical, and the X is the same. So I am just coming up here to copy that and then paste it. Control C, Control V. Oh, I don't like that it changed the formatting. Okay, undo. I'm just going to type it in. And then this one. One thing that's weird on this is, like, I have to drag up and down. And that's, oh, that's ln of %t though. ln parentheses %t. And I have to use the up arrows too, so that's kind of weird, but it's all right. Okay, so that's the natural log of the %t, and there's the %t, or the time in seconds. Let's make our x-axis equal to x-axis from the first one, though. So I've double-clicked on that time down there, come over here, axis options, change it to 450 because that's what I did before. Yours might be different. And there we go. There's that chart. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to look at the graphs here. Okay, so then we do the 1 over the original %t. So I'm going to scroll down a little more. 1 over %t. So the time's the same. Ooh, I copied those down, and that's not a good choice. Remember, I told you that it messes up with the pattern. So I'm going to equal that and then click and drag it down. And delete, and then copy the format. Okay, and then I want to do 1 over the %t. So I'm going to make it equal 1 divided by, and I have to go to the top because the top's where the %t is. It's not there at the natural log one. So 1 over that, the inverse, and drag it down. I want to have the same formatting, and then I want to select it, come up here, insert, chart, XY scatter, this one. Oh, this data is looking so beautiful. Oh, I love it whenever things work out. And we did a lot of work to optimize these. Okay, so this is 1 over %t versus time in seconds. I need to add some chart elements, axes, titles, and then I've got time in seconds, and I've got 1 over %t, 1 over %t. Okay, I want to change my x-axis scale. All right. Let's add in our legends too for all of them. So on this one, come up to, I selected the chart, and then I come up to design, add chart element, and legend to the right. And then come down here, select the third one, and add chart element, legend, I want it to the right. Okay, so there we go. Those look good. We can make them look better. Now, let's look at the charts down here. You see how like there's no like flatness before the dip? I want to get rid of those first 3 data points because it looks like at that 4th data point it's starting to have that normal reaction curve. So I'm going to double click on that curve and then right click, select data. I want to edit my source, and I don't want the first 3 sets of data. So you can select this actually, this whole thing, and then come over here and select from the 3rd one down, and then come over here and select from the 3rd one down. Oh, I think I know what happened. So I need to delete that, hit equals, and then 3rd one, or I guess 4th one down. Now look at that chart. It's looking much more like that previous one. So I need to do the same thing for all of these. So select the data, right click, select data, and edit. And if you notice, we're starting at the 4th data. It's at row 32 on mine specifically. So I'm just going to delete the 29 and do 32. Delete the 29 and type in a 32. And so that deleted those first 3 pieces of data. On this one, I'm going to show you again how you can just reselect the data. So I've clicked on my line, I right click and select data and edit, and I'm going to take away all of those X's. I'm going to hit equal and then come from the 4th and go all the way down. Oh, I didn't want to hit enter yet. And then I'm going to take this one, delete it all, hit equals, and then from the 4th all the way down. Now I'm going to hit enter or click OK, and then click OK. And now look, these charts are looking like those other ones. What we could also do is get rid of where we don't have data on the x-axis. So now I think I even want to clean it up a little more. I'm going to make this one go from 150 to 450. I'm going to make them all go from 150 to 450. It's kind of laggy. I don't know why it's not letting me just pick all the data that I want. I'm trying to double click it, and then I come over here, Axis Options, 150. Okay, there we go. And then on this one, I think I'm going to leave it up to you on what you think is going to look better with your y-axis. So I really think that my y-axis should probably have 50 as its minimum so that I can see that nice, oh wait, no, I want it to be 0 to 50. Sorry, the minimum is 0, but then the max is 50. So we can see that nice reaction curve. And like it's a nice pretty curve that was like this one. And you can see like we had the straight line here when it was the inverse of our %t over time. If it was a first order reaction, the linear one would be a natural log of the %t over time. Another way that we can check our accuracy is for this linear one. Let's go now down here. For the one that's supposed to be linear, let's add a trend line. So I've right-clicked on the line and I've done Add Trend Line. I want it to be a linear one. You could do lots of different types, but I want it to be linear. I need to move myself. And I want it to display the equation. So this is like the best fit linear line for that. And I want it to display the R squared value. So what that R squared value is it tells me that my data over here, my experimental data, is 99.78 accurate. It's like 99.78 linear. So pretty much like 100% or 99.78%. I got good data here, and the reaction I performed is a second order reaction. Okay, so then once you have made those 3 charts, I think that's all that I want you to do right now. I mean, that's enough Excel training for today. So then you need to make sure you save this. I always like to select A1. So I scroll up, I scroll over, and I put my cursor up in A1 and I select that one, and then I save it. Control S is save. Remember, we'd already saved it at the very beginning. Make sure that you have your title formatted correctly. And so I've saved it, and then I want you to come to Moodle and upload that for me so I can check it for you. So you will just click here and then upload it, and it should accept different versions of spreadsheets. If you have a newer Excel or older Excel, it should accept different XLSX or XLS files, whatever. So let me know if you have any problems with this. Let me know if you have any questions. And I'm feeling like I really like this chemistry stuff. So I don't know, maybe we could just talk some chemistry sometime too. So I will see you all later. So what did you think? That was interesting, right? I mean, why did Michael have me do a crazy chemistry experiment and then train everyone on Excel and figuring out rate orders? That just doesn't make any sense. But lucky for us, that's perfect for what we're doing in lab. And so I want you to take that data and do all of those same steps in that spreadsheet to make those charts, and then save it and submit it into our Moodle. So that will be your lab report for this lab. You don't need to write anything up, just do all of the manipulations and then upload your Excel spreadsheet to Moodle.